a little about these days. I mean, two big announcements, two big fights coming for the belt for the guys here at AKA.
Well, yeah, we have Daniel getting his long, feud going with John Jones, going to come through on April 23rd in Las Vegas. I'm very excited for that fight. I believe DC, he's ready for that challenge. More so now than he was then, and I believe he's going to keep his title. And Luke Rockhold, he's fighting Chris Weidman. I think that's going to be another great fight. I think Chris Weidman is going to come hungrier and more prepared, but Luke Rockhold's to me, he's just on another level, and Luke's just going to keep improving and he's going to prove why that he should be regarded as one of the best middleweights of all time. Not yet, but it's coming. Luke Rockhold's going to be known as that individual.
And what about Daniel's next fight against John? I mean, people is now making a big deal about his problem with not having a driver's license and has to go to court in these days. So, what kind of John Jones you expect for this next fight?
Well, I expect the most dangerous John Jones that we've ever seen, because he had something that was not taken away from him due to his fighting. It was due to his out of the ring actions. And again, he's proven true to what he's been doing. He's a mess. He's not following the laws the way he needs to. Hopefully, he can get his act together. More so, I'm sure he's trying like he needs to get his act together. But I don't know. It's just hard to fathom. What's going on with him, because you just never know. One minute everything's good, the next minute he's in trouble. It's like hopefully he keeps it together.
What did you agree with the cards night in the first fight between Daniel and John? And how much do you think you guys can change in the wrestling and in everything for the next fight?
Well, when I was there live, of course, I thought the second round was clearly ours. I thought the fourth round was clearly his, and I thought the other rounds that John had took. So it was like, to me, 4-1 his favor. I didn't rewatch the fight. When I rewatched the fight without the sound or anything, and just looking like two fighters, and you know what, my opinion changed drastically. So that fight was a lot closer than I thought, and I was there. And when I rewatched it, punch for punch, stat for stat, what they actually did, damage for damage, that fight was a lot closer than people actually thought. And actually for me, I was like, wow, this was that fourth round could have been crucial on our part. So I think DC knows, that he's not going to let that escape him again. He's not going to let 1 round, 1 second escape him like he did last time. So yeah, that fight was a lot closer than I thought also.
Feels like Daniel had to do a lot to finally get that belt when he beat Rumble. So, how much does he want to keep that belt? How much does his pride? How big is the deal to have the belt for Daniel?
Well, I think that defending it against John and being successful against John is the biggest thing for him. It'll make him legit in his mind and in the audience's mind. Even though he is the legit champion, he's still not complete until he gets that one fight back. So John Jones will complete him for what he needs to be, and he just feels that there's a rematch in place after that one. So and what he wants this match and another one to really prove who is the true light heavyweight world champion. And DC, this will make him. Yes, beating John Jones will be the biggest thing in his life.
And for Luke, some people are saying that one might not deserve a direct fight against Luke because he was overwhelmed. Luke seemed so superior in the first fight. So, why taking Weidman again?
Well, if you look at the fight and forget about what people are saying, just the same thing with John Jones and DC. And everybody saw DC lost 4-1, so did I. But then you look at the fight, you go, well, no, it was a lot closer than that. It might have been 2-3. It was really a lot closer. So you look at Luke's fight, realistically, if you look at the fight, that fight was a lot closer than people are saying. That fight was a lot closer. The first round, I'd have to say, would be Weidman's. The second was Luke, and the third was definitely Luke. But before that kick came, it was pretty competitive. So so to me, Weidman 100% deserves that rematch, and he's been proven. Look, he beat the great Anderson Silva twice, then he beat Vitor Belfort, and then Machida. I mean, no, out of anybody that that was there, and since Joel Romero's out, the most likely candidate was, to me, Weidman. He deserves it the most.
So last week, Dana White said Kane has to wait for what happens. He's giving the next shot for Stipe against Verdum. So what do you think about that, and how's Kane after the surgery?
I didn't hear that. Kane's not getting the shot, right? He's not, right?
Yeah, Stipe is getting the shot, and they have to wait for that fight, or I don't know, maybe Dos Santos against Rodwell to see what happens to Kane.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it's unfortunate. Kane had bone spurs, and he's had them for years. Obviously, there's not something that just comes overnight. So it was kind of hard for us to see when he got hurt, because that injury has been occurring for years. So whatever the UFC says he has to do is what we got to do. You can't complain about it. That's the fight game. It's a tough business, and if he says he's got to knock out one guy or two guys or three guys, then what are we gonna do? We have to do what he says, right? The boss. So do I think it's fair? I mean, to some degree. I don't know if the fans want to see that happen again. I mean, I would want Kane to fight for the title again, because I think he's the best heavyweight in the world. But that's what I want.
Yeah, that's exactly what most of the fans want. I mean, most of the fans don't want to see Kane go the long road. I mean, fighting guys that are basically in the top 10, but not at his level, right?
Yeah. I personally don't feel that they are, and you know what? We'll see. His next opponent, whoever that's going to be, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I feel he's the best, and I feel that I mean, injuries happen, and this one here was through years. This wasn't like it happened in practice. This was happening through practices. For years, he's had, every so often, he's had back problems, but, it was just accrued over years.
So he went surgery. He's coming back in like less than a month, I heard. So is there a chance for you to ask for fighting again in Mexico to prove something or anything like that?
No, I don't think. Kane doesn't ask. And I don't do anything. That's Kane's decision. Kane's just going to let them tell him what's on the line for him. He's not going to ask them. Kane doesn't do that, and I'm not at liberty to speak for him. So whatever they're going to give us, they're going to give us. Kane knows if he does fight in Mexico, he knows that he'll be there at the very least a month. But me, I would want 6 weeks.
And do you think that might be possible this year? Because there's probably we're not having a pay-per-view in Mexico City. So if Kane is not fighting for the title shot next, so he could be starting a fight night against Overeem, against Rodwell, and some of those big names. That will be right for you guys for fighting in the summer in Mexico City or something.
Yeah, like I said, whatever the UFC is put on the table and whatever Kane accepts. But I've never known Kane to deny anybody. So whoever they decide they're going to put him up against, Kane's going to say yes, and they're going to decide the date, and we'll go from there. But it's never been in his position to ask for anybody, and it's still not going to be that way. They're going to tell him who they got on the table and what's the date, and see if he's going to be ready or not. And of course, this surgery that he had was very successful. It's just bone spurs, so they just shaved the bones, and the surgery incision is what needs to heal. Everything else is fine. I've been hearing from friends that have seen him. They said he's happier than they've ever seen him. He's walking straighter than they've ever seen him. So we're going to get a very healthy, motivated, ex-champion going back to regain his title.
Finally, how has were this time to call Dana White, to call the guys and say, hey, we're not fighting this time? How hard was after the past experiences?
I don't know. It must have been pretty hard. Kane called me after he called Dana, and Kane was very sad, and he just said, hey, my back, it just didn't hold out. What happened is, he got advice from doctors that they're going to shoot his back with cortisone, and it was going to take like 6 to 7 days to hold before he can train hard. But during the time that Kane was injured with the back problem, he still was training. We still were boxing training. We don't know sparring, nothing, but he was hitting the mitts, and not super hard, but decent enough. And then once the 6th day came in, I trained with him on a Saturday. This was 1 week before the last sparring week. and we trained very hard. I said, I'm going to train you very hard. And he goes, okay. And he did great. The workout was fantastic. But the next day, which was Sunday, that's when he called me. I thought everything was great. I'd even called Dana, and I left him a message that I had a friend of mine that wanted to buy tickets through them, and how do I go about it? That was Saturday night. So I had texted Dana regarding that, and the next day the fight's over, so I had no clue, and I'm sure Kane had no clue. But the next day, I guess he woke up and the pain was too much, and the doctors told him that because of the bone spurs, that the pain wasn't gonna, another cortisone shot wouldn't help at all. So he had no choice but to pull out. Otherwise, the more damage that could have happened to him as a result of him fighting and not being able to fight to begin with. So we were stuck in a very bad situation.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, Coach. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.